So this is session 6, using AI, authentic customer voice with Daniel and Jason. Daniel, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Jason, thanks so much for having me on. I'm a huge fan of you, because for a long time, before the AI wave or whatever, community has been a big part of go-to-market for a lot of folks. And I just am really impressed by what you've done at Sales Intel. Like you really understand community. So I know that the original topic was going to be about like using AI to turn customer data into revenue. But I really think what we should talk about, because we're community people, is like creating this authentic representation, which is what we're discussing now. So I'm just so excited. Context for me, I was the VP of community at a company like called Chili Piper, where we went from around 15,000 organic impressions per month across our community to 3 million. Then I went and did a bunch of political work, lost badly for Bernie twice, one with Joe Biden once, lost really badly the most recent time. I was the VP of community at a company called Apollo, went from around 30,000 organic impressions per month to around 7 million per month, all community driven. And then the percentage of revenue sourced from community functions went from 15% to 85%. Now, huge shout out of that goes to the partnerships team there. But just in general, I really believe that authentic community engagement is the answer to this inauthentic dearth of AI saturated kind of bogus content. Can't wait to get into it. Jason, I'm a huge fan of yours. We've got kind of a smallish audience today, not too small, but if you ask questions, I'll be sure to answer them. So to you, to the attendee, thank you so much for being here. I'll do my best to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Daniel. To everyone who's joined, thank you all for joining again. Live Q&A. Feel free to put questions in the chat, and we're ready to go. So,
they're rolling in. More people
are
coming in.
More and more people are coming in. So keep them rolling in. Everybody keep joining, and we'll keep the energy up. So, my first question for you is, when you join a company, right, like Chili Piper or Apollo, and you're looking to build out that community program and customer advocacy program, what are you really like? What are your steps? What's your step-by-step guide? How are you adding value to the company right away? And where are you seeing that go in the future?
I guess it varies, right, from company to company. But one of the first things you want to do when you enter a company as a community person is to kind of inventory what the community is, right? I think we can maybe even take a step back from that and define community, because it can mean so many different things to different people. Like I'm a community marketer, very different from a community manager. Jason, how do you define community? Or in the chat, like, how do you all define community? Then I'll tell you how I define it. How do you define community, Jason?
For me, the definition of community is really the conversation between our customers, our prospects, and us, and listening to them and being able to really put trust in who we are, and for us to trust their advice. And so for us, it's all about trust. And I think that's the value of a community.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's a side of the same coin that I would say. For me, a community is a space, either physical or digital, where people who aren't explicitly paid to do so freely exchange knowledge and information. So this could mean your customers referring people, or leaving unsolicited reviews, or like maybe solicited reviews if we're talking G2 or something like that, or bringing you up in a meeting, or joining a Slack group and talking about you and all that stuff. So the first thing you need to do when you enter a community is do like a listening tour across both the existing employees and some of the top champions, and figure out like, where is the community power? Like when I joined Chili Piper, I was like, what's this random thing? Like I noticed this guy has all the customer relationships. He was a MOPS person. I said, hey, Scott, you have all the customer relationships. That's kind of irregular for a sales ops person. Like, what's going on? He's like, let me introduce you to the Chili Piper Master Admin Slack group. And it was a Slack channel within the Wizards of Ops Slack community that housed a lot of our very best advocates. So the first thing you should do is go around, meet with the other VPs, meet with 5 customers, ask the product team for who the early adopters are, who gives the most product feedback, who's attending events, who's leaving unsolicited reviews, who's leaving unsolicited LinkedIn posts. Have all these conversations. And the way you can use AI to support it is you record all the conversations, right? Then you upload all those transcripts to GPT or something, and then you pump it with a series of prompts. Like a lot of times it's the less sexy applications of AI that are actually crushing right now. Like simple call recording and then having them summarize that. Like you could theoretically go around and have people like in a community give you all their feedback and then have GPT create entire content pieces off it. Like, here's what I learned just entering the company or whatever. Then you give it a human touch and you zhuzh it about, but definitely do this listening tour. Then upload everything to GPT so you immortalize that knowledge. It's not just in your head. After that, there's something else you can do, which is you find your customers and then you survey them. It's what I call an influence map. So if you're a community marketer like me, because that's all I'm going to talk about, community marketer, you want to understand and inventory the customer voice and then deploy the customer voice. But like, where are you deploying the customer voice to? Your customers can tell you that answer. They'll be like, everyone's discussing sales tech solutions in this Slack group, or don't go to this event, it's lame, go to this event instead. So you build this map of like where to influence, and then you authentically deploy the customer voice to those spaces. And you can use AI just in your notes to highlight your understanding or to do research to augment this kind of influence map. And then it's the human, the real relationships that deploy that. I am going on for a while, but if people in the chat, if this is good, give Jason and me encouragement. Let us know questions. Jason, what's next? Let's keep going.
Yeah, just to bounce off that idea of leaning on your customers, right? When I was looking at our customer base, right, at Sales Intel, I saw there was a lot of logistics and supply chain companies that we help. And it wasn't an area for us on our events team that we really invested in going to a lot of those events. It was kind of a gray area for us. So a year ago when I joined, it was something that I thought, you know what, let's go and ask those customers where we should be spending our time, right? What are the logistics and supply chain company or events that we should be going to that they're going to? And so this year we've done a few of those, and it's been one of our best expenditures so far. We've seen a lot of ROI come from that, and so that's just leaning on your customers. And that's not even utilizing AI, right? That's just one of those tips that you can take and really lean into. So, Daniel,
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you now, or do you have something to say about that?
I could expand. You know me, I've got too much to say about everything, Jason.
Well,
But
go
what I
ahead.
would say is that being a customer marketer is such a hack. I can join a company that's about like requirements engineering, which is one of my consulting clients now. This really cool company called Trace Space that helps manage the supply chain for like rockets and companies and stuff. And they can be like, what do you think of this? And my answer as a customer and community marketer is usually the same. I think we should ask our customers, right? So just what you said, it's a total hack to harness the customer voice. Just
Yeah.
ask them. They know better than you. Otherwise, it's just like your opinion as a marketer.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to our next point, which is we can ask them, or we can also pick up on where what they're giving us, which we can find in a lot of the conversations that our sales team has, right, with them. And that's where I would throw in AI as a really great use case, is really collecting that data that sometimes we aren't in the room, and we have to be able to pick up where are they putting this information? Is it on social media? Is it in G2? A lot of the times it happens at events. Picking up those notes and plugging into AI has been something that we've had a
Yeah.
lot of success in, and I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
I mean, absolutely. It is, I think, honestly, and I think it's going to change a lot. Like there's that proverb about AI, right? That it's overestimated, overhyped in the short term, but underhyped in the long term. Like as we enter a realm of more fully functional agentic AI functions, you will see AI used for a lot more than information gathering. You'll
Yeah.
see people use AI to automate their mass outbound. See people use AI to eliminate all prospecting work, right? People use AI to research who they should reach out to. They'll use AI to clone doppelganger close one accounts and then follow them backwards through the funnel and figure out how to get to them. But right now, my primary usage of AI is definitely just to augment my research and structure things. Like I'll create a strategic plan for something, for example, like a customer marketing launch, and then I will upload that plan to GPT and say, hey, create a launch that's like this, but even better because you pull on the context of these 10 people who I really respect. And while doing it, read every single one of Udi's LinkedIn posts and then ingest the entire book influenced by Robert Cialdini and then redo my plan for me. And like sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not. But it's like there's a layer of AI sophistication that you can just use to augment your own thoughts and your own learnings and your own programs and your own research. And one point I love that you made also, like now being a marketer and being a customer marketer, it's not just about seeking out subject matter experts or gathering this content yourself, but it can be about finding it in the past. You have all of these gong
Yeah.
calls recorded or whatever. Just go into them, and in the past it's prohibitive because you're like, I have to go into all these gong calls and listen to them. You don't even have to listen to them anymore. Get the
Yeah.
transcripts uploaded and then create a deeper level of understanding from it. Like learning at the pace of experience isn't fast enough, and AI allows us to learn at the pace of other people's experience, but also to summarize that and congest it so we can understand it in one lifetime or 1 hour of work or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of my favorite use cases this year for us has been really enhancing our customer or case studies, right? And I think
Mm,
every company that's a pretty big focus, especially in B2B, right? Having case studies is one thing, but having case studies with true ROI or showing true stats is another. And so what I was able, what we really thought of was, well, one, how do we find the customers that really, really have already talked about how good we are? Where are they? And for us, it was we need to go figure out that we went to social media, we went to G2, and what we found was the strongest advocates for us are already advocating for us on platforms. So once you go onto these platforms that where your customers are, you're already be able to surface at least a few percentage points of your customers. For us, that was where we started. I went into G2, and it all connects, but we were able to drive around 200 reviews over this course of this year. A lot of those reviews had a lot of notes and insights that our product team could use, but also provided a level of positivity and sophistication on ROI that our customers were telling us that we really weren't able to showcase in a lot of our past case studies. So plugging that information in through these G2 reviews into Chat GPT, asking it to create a case study for us. It generated these case studies. I mean, it would have taken us months to do this on our own.
mm,
It generated these case studies overnight, right? We were
yeah.
then able to just send it over to the companies, the person who sent the review, say, hey, we'll give you $100 gift card, review this case study, let us know what you think, add your own quote. Boom, the case study was done in under a week.
Yeah,
That
it's awesome.
shortened cycle for us had really helped, our team be able to go to market in a different way. So that's been something that we've really focused on and how we're using AI.
Um, I love that. I'm gonna expand on that, and then we have our first question. Alyssa, we'll get to that in a second. And I hate to be a contrarian here because I love AI, don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna like ignore tools that aren't AI native just because we're talking about AI for that, right? Like the topic was case studies, and you're like, I use AI to grossly accelerate the rate of case studies, right? Well, if you think about case studies, right, they're really valuable as assets. And if you're a marketer watching this right now, go to Clay's website and see what they do with their case studies. They have their frame of all the logos they work with, like their logo wall, and then some of them have an embedded case study in it. Like that's amazing. Like so much of marketing is just finding and
Yeah.
displaying social proof, right? But like this is a principle that's not connected to AI. Like the way what inspired me what you were saying is just to think about the concept of distribution points, right? Like you can use AI to create more distribution points by like mass generating an email that's personalized down to the nth degree and sending out to a billion people using whatever tool, right? Or you can just double down on authentic customer engagement and increase distribution points that way. Like something I've been wondering a lot is like if you create a case study and nobody sees it, there's no distribution point built into it invariably. Is that actually better than one person on LinkedIn just being like, oh, +1 sales intel? I like it a lot more, right? I think marketers to some extent need to move past this all eggs in one bucket mentality and just
Yeah.
aim to create like a mass propagation of user generated love and automate that. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. Um, Tips on prompt generation. How do you document what well and what didn't, and how do you share this amongst peers? So, Alyssa, I'd love if you could provide a little more context to this. Prompt generation for what? For creating case studies, for digesting different call recordings, things like that. Honestly, what I found works the best, digesting phone calls and meetings. Cool. So, what I find works the best for any prompts, and I am not a prompt master, but I will firstly have the history turned on for my GPTs, so they have a corpus of all my knowledge and they have a lot of the things that I've uploaded there. Then I will say like GPT, like thanks so much for your help, because I'm just like a total kiss ass for when the aliens like or the robots come after us. Just kidding. Um, and so I'll be like, imagine you're the world's greatest marketer. You know all of this stuff. You know how to do this. You know how to do this. You know how to do that. This. You're trying to mine insights from this to accomplish this goal. Place yourself in that perspective. Also, augment it with all the knowledge of these 5 people, and I'll like do 5 people that are researchable, like Randy Fisk's book or whatever, and then I'll say, now use your new expert marketing mind once they've established that baseline to analyze all of these calls and give me these key summaries. I want to know what marketing tactics come to mind based off the will of the customer. I want to know what my ICP is and how it's defined and who buys my tool. I want to know where people are educating themselves around my product. I want to know what campaigns in the past my customers like that deeply resonate with me. I want to do this. So it's like spend some time going back and forth with GPT at the beginning to give it a ton of context so it really understands it. And then you hit it with the questions at the end. That's how I tend to do it. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or not, but it's been good. All my clients are quite happy right now. I launched my own company a while back, and what I've found is that like when you're running a marketing agency, it's a lot easier to run it smaller now when you can use something like AI to take out some of these manual research tasks if you feed it well. So yeah, Alyssa, was that helpful? If anyone else has any great prompts, put them in the chat. She said, thank you. That means I said something.
That,
I don't
that
know if it
works
was good or not, but thank you,
too.
Alyssa, for asking a question. What's next, Jason?
So, Daniel, what's the future here in community and customer marketing with AI, and where do you see the balance striking between AI and human expertise?
It's really interesting because like there's a new burden of proof for emailing and everything. And just like, am I a real authentic human? Right. And then Shaniqua Ivy had this post once where she was like, the future is going to require us to be radically human. And I was like, that's amazing. So I tried to buy the website, radicallyhuman.com, and it was like really expensive, even though they're just using it to send emails right now. Such
Mm.
bogus. But I really believe that the companies that succeed going forward are the companies that can appear to present a radically human voice, like a real voice. So there's going to be a divergence. There's going to be 3 paths. There's going to be the companies that use AI to create a profligation of mass content, usually fake or whatever, that's inauthentic, but just insanely high volume. I'm not saying that won't work. Like it'll work for some people. Then
Yep.
there's going to be the group of people who create a mass conflagration of authentic content using AI. The way you do this is you build an authentic relationship with a customer, and then you use AI to do things like create collateral for them to make it
Yep.
easier for them to talk about you on LinkedIn and stuff like that. Then the third group is going to be the people who don't use AI at all because they're like, oh, I'm so great. I'm smarter than a machine. And like those people are going to be replaced. So I like to position my clients along the middle area. Like, okay, so you've had like your pre-revenue, you've had 200 conversations, you recorded all of them with some of the top people in your industry. Let's upload all of them. Then let's take the 5 people who you respect the most on LinkedIn. Let's have GPT digest all of their posts going back a few years. Then let's create a brand exercise for you. and adjectives that describe you. And then let's put some of your writing sample there. Okay, take these 200 meetings and turn them into 200 LinkedIn posts that align with these 5 pillars. And then you describe all 5 pillars. Then I have my clients go through and just pick which ones resonate with them. And then I will take those and turn them into non-lame posts. So I'm not using GPT to write the posts. I'm using GPT to identify the topics and explain, in some cases, some concepts that I'm not even familiar with, or deep level of nuance. And then you can use that to educate yourself, but you also can use it to create more content, which then you package in a real authentic human way. So I would say that even though I use GPT to gather the knowledge and tell stories about conversations I was never there for, it's actually incredibly authentic because it's based off real conversations. And at the end, we help rewrite it into the author's real voice. So I think that's some of the way it's going right now, if that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. I'll add on to it and just say that I think in-person networking with your customers and
Oh,
building that
yeah.
relationship is, if it wasn't important, which it was before, I mean, it's even more important now, with AI and the amount of competitors that are coming up every day, especially if you're a software provider right now listening, right? I mean, you have to be building that relationship, and that's the foundation. And for us, it's been events. And I guess, Daniel, I'd love to hear your formula for building that community. And I know that, at least looking at Apollo and Chili Piper, it looked like social media and events was a big part of your game plan.
Yeah. So when I was at Apollo and Chili Piper, I was the VP of community. And that at Chili Pepper also included content, but Apollo community was field marketing, customer marketing, social media marketing, PR, evangelism, executive presence. Just kind of a structure I made up. But I think they all really fit well together. And I was so lucky to have an incredible team, like really amazing people like Medjoli, Elias, Taylor Boger, Zoe Hartsfield. Like this team was awesome. Kayla Drake, Danny Howe, just like an incredible team. Um, and I think what you said is entirely true. Like we can come back to the definition of community, a
Yeah.
space, physical or digital, where people who aren't explicitly paid to do so freely exchange knowledge and information. What's a better place to do that than in person? Also, when you're in person, you 100% pass the non-AI
Yep.
test, at least for now, until there's something in our ear being like, this, don't talk to this person. They only have 12 employees at their company. It's not a high ICV. But right now I'm actually right outside Grand Central. We're doing an event in a couple of hours here, with different go-to-market experts with a focus on AI, companies like Datadog and Notion and a bunch of other amazing companies. And we're all here. And it'll give us a chance to connect personally and then do business. This is something that Chili Piper does an amazing job at. And it's like the founders, Nicholas and Alina, really believe that like there is a personal side to business. That it's like we spend all this time talking about our brand colors, but a lot of our brand is how we present ourselves as humans, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what a better way to bring about that authentic brand representation of ourselves than in person at an event where we can really connect with people personally and then do business? Like, I challenge those listening, especially if you're in sales, to give me an example of a time that you had like an incredible sales experience and I bet you connected personally on something in that. That's what marketers are about. It's about evoking emotion in addition to demonstrating the tools that we want to sell. And there's so many tools out there, right? There's a total overload of tools now. So oftentimes the best way to break through that early cognitive wall is to connect personally. Then you connect, like logically or financially or whatever. Yeah.
We got a question here, Daniel. There's a lot of change going on in AI all the time. How do you keep up with best practices and thought leadership?
How do you do it, Jason?
For me, I would say it's through social media, right? Definitely on LinkedIn. I think I have a list of 20 people that I really, really respect, and there's more than that, right? That I look at their profiles all the time, and they're AI users, and they're posting online saying, "Hey, This is a new use case and how I use for AI. Oh, and Claude's out and LMS is out, right? So all of these insights I get from peers that I have connected with, right? And have built a relationship with that I trust. So that's really where what I go to, my go-to is. How about you?
Well, it's really interesting that you asked this because I was VP at Apollo, and then I left for a variety of reasons, and then joined Kamala Harris's campaign. So I was just traveling around, managing a lot of their events. And then I was like, what do I do next? Do I join another company? Because I've always kind of been like, consultant, consultant. But I do think that now there's a divide happening between consultancy and fractional. So what
Mhm.
I'm doing is I'm not necessarily being like, here's advice. Like I work across several companies. We're all like fully be their customer marketing team. Or like I'll fully be their social media team. And then I'll be like, Medjoli, come in and do this. And she'll come in and do a way better job than I can do it. Um, so like I do think that things are moving so fast now that there actually has been a shift where if you're just working at one company, unless you're actively mining those around you for knowledge, going to events like Jenny Guarta's RevFest event, which was amazing. And she's actually going to be here tonight at our event. Low key flex. I know Jenny Guarta. I know Jen. So like mining knowledge from other people, but chatting with your peers, establishing community frameworks is really valuable. For me, as a fractional employee, it's awesome because I can come into a bunch of different companies and learn all their best practices and then bring them to my other clients, right? So
Yep.
it's really tough. And I would say find people you really respect, network with people in person, um, challenge your assumptions. But at the same time, we can't lose sight of some of the principles that we have, right? Like, let's take Kamala's campaign. So much data, so much knowledge on how to use data. The campaign was able to hyper target certain groups and hit them with exactly what resonates to them. But that actually had another problem, and that it crushed the authenticity as a whole of the candidate. Kamala is actually a pretty great person. Like she's really nice and authentic, but they had so much data on the person they were trying to reach that they tried to become everyone to everyone. So it's
Mhm.
important to keep up with best practices and thought leadership, but it's also important to refresh yourself on the core principles that marketing stands for: scarcity, authority, consensus, liking, consistency. Like Robert Cialdini wrote about these like 50 years ago. And if you look at every major sales training and a lot of the other leaders out there, they come back to this root core principle. So
Mhm.
keep on with it, keep in touch with AI, keep up to date with everything, but don't let it distract you from like what marketing is.
Outside now, we're getting in the Q&A time. So thank you so much, Daniel, for all your insights. If anyone has any other questions, definitely drop them in the chat. Outside of business use cases, Daniel, what's your favorite use case for your private life for it with AI? What do you use it for?
Okay.
What's your
Um,
favorite one? Yeah.
so I've been gardening a lot recently. I live in Vermont. I'm a big city boy tonight in New York City, but I live in Vermont and I have like an acre that we're just like gardening every inch of. And I'm like, ChatGPT, like, thanks so much for being so helpful for everything these last few days. I'm wondering like, how much should I water this? Here's the average temperature for the last. Here's this. How much should I water this? Blah blah blah. Did everything, and then I was like, create a master watering table for me, and it created this beautiful chart that I now use to determine how much to water, and it gives you insights like half an inch of water per day for one thing there. I'm like, how do I tell what half an inch of water is when I have my hose? Because I'm watering all this by hand. Because I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to use that 30 minutes in the morning to like really just think and prep my day. It's really early also. And I'm like drinking
Mhm.
matcha. Wow, I sound weird. But anyway, they told me to like put a bucket with a halfway mark in there. And then you can just roughly get an eye on how long it takes and build this instinct. So I'm using ChatGPT for gardening and vacation searches. Like,
Oh
what are the
yeah.
5 best rivers to swim in South America, right? And then I'll find the rivers, and then I'll go into Google Maps and search along the rivers for hotels. And yeah,
That you stole mine. Vacation searching for me has just been definitely something I love using it for. went to Tennessee recently and ChatGPT'd all the different mountains we could walk on, and that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So all right, well, there's no more questions. So Daniel, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Really
If
appreciate you all for joining. So
Oh wait, we got another one. Gift ideas. We got another question.
oh,
Are we at time though? Is it just 30 minutes?
yep, 30 minutes.
Okay, gift ideas is what you use ChatGPT for. Here's a gift. Oh, I'm not going to give away my best gift idea, but the best gift ideas are all highly personalized. And then take those gifts and then get them people to post them. It's like an ad. I highly recommend you use Reach Desk for your gifting. It's an incredible tool, but with Sendosa's purchase of Postal, like it's heating up. But I prefer Reach Desk. Jason, I want to use the last 10 seconds to say you are amazing. Such a pleasure to see you grow, and you're incredible. And thank you so much, Sales Intel, for having me on. If anyone wants to connect with me, linkedin.com/in/great marketing. I snagged that URL the first day you can make it custom.
Thank you so much, Daniel, and thank you all for tuning in.